The 44-week training course is grueling, and it's reported that William found enormous strength during this period.
The British monarchy has endured centuries of upheaval, wars, betrayals, and scandals that could have toppled dynasties. Yet, in early 2026, a decision is unfolding inside Buckingham Palace that defies modern precedent. King Charles is quietly transferring his final authority, not through illness, not through abdication, but in a calculated, behind-closed-doors move to his son, Prince William. Standing squarely in the path of this seismic shift is Queen Camilla, the very woman whose rise to the throne was meant to be secure. So, what does this unprecedented power transfer mean for the future of the crown? How Prince William took the reins? February 19th, 2026 will be remembered as one of the most seismic days in modern royal history, a moment when centuries of tradition collided with the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. On that day, the unthinkable happened. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, long shielded by royal privilege, was arrested over allegations of sharing confidential government documents with individuals tied to the Jeffrey Epstein network. The palace, once a fortress of control and secrecy, plunged into chaos. Reporters swarmed the gates of Buckingham Palace, phones buzzed endlessly, and social media exploded. Yet, amid the frenzy, one figure moved with a quiet, deliberate purpose: Prince William. William's rise to decisive authority was not sudden. Sources close to the family reveal he had been preparing for this moment for years, weighing the fragile relationship between duty and loyalty. While the rest of the family wrestled with shock and denial, William acted. He had warned King Charles and Queen Elizabeth long ago that Andrew's behaviour risked tarnishing the monarchy irreparably. After the catastrophic 2019 BBC interview, in which Andrew's words, awkward, unconvincing, and disastrous, exposed the palace to global ridicule, William had pushed for decisive action. Full removal from royal duties, no half measures, no quiet management. At the time, his warnings largely fell on deaf ears. The late Queen's fierce protectiveness of her son made intervention difficult, and Charles, then Prince of Wales, found himself torn between family loyalty and institutional survival. By 2026, the prophecy William had spoken became reality. With Andrew arrested and Charles battling his own health struggles, the heir apparent was no longer waiting in the wings. He was leading. Over the past 6 months alone, William orchestrated the removal of Andrew's titles, the eviction from Royal Lodge, and the severing of all formal ties to the monarchy. This strategy, sources confirm, was driven by William himself, with Charles acquiescing, recognising that safeguarding the monarchy now outweighed personal ties. Royal commentators describe this transfer of authority as unprecedented. Charles, exhausted and facing his own mortality, has effectively entrusted the future of the institution to his son. William's approach is calculated and clear-eyed. Protect the crown, even when it demands confronting scandal and family strife head-on. As the world watches, it is increasingly evident that the British monarchy is entering a new era, one defined not by tradition alone, but by the decisiveness, foresight, and unflinching leadership of Prince William. The balance of power has shifted, and the man once waiting in the shadows is now guiding the very destiny of the crown. King Charles III, after a lifetime of preparation, became Britain's oldest ever monarch in 2022, only to face a cancer diagnosis barely 17 months into his reign. But how did his earlier years, full of expectation and pressure, prepare him for a battle few witnessed? And could his upbringing have shaped the resilience that now defines his daily struggle? William steps into power. King Charles III carries a weight few can truly imagine. At 73, he became Britain's oldest ever monarch in September 2022, after waiting longer than any heir in history. His entire life had been a preparation for this moment, a lifetime spent learning, observing, and waiting for a crown that seemed always just out of reach. Yet, almost as if fate demanded it, his body began to betray him. By February 2024, barely 17 months into his reign, Charles was diagnosed with cancer. Details were scarce, but treatment began immediately, quietly shaping every day of his public life. Even as he continued royal duties, the strain was immense, unseen by the public. Then came another shock. In March 2024, Princess Kate, the Princess of Wales, widely regarded as the most beloved figure in the royal family and a key partner in carrying the monarchy forward, revealed she too had cancer. After surgery uncovered malignant cells, she began preventative chemotherapy, forcing her to step back from public life for the first time in decades.
You know, they look very different. They are very different people.
The monarchy's two most essential figures were fighting life-threatening illnesses simultaneously. The pressure, the fragility was extraordinary, concentrated at the very top. By 2025, whispers of succession plans turned into discreet action. Though Charles had long resisted relinquishing control, he began granting William and Kate powers once reserved solely for the reigning monarch. The authority to issue royal warrants, to publicly endorse brands and products on behalf of the crown, might seem small to outsiders, but in royal terms it was monumental. This move signalled an intentional and profound shift. The future of the monarchy was now in William and Kate's hands. Charles, still undergoing treatment at 77, understood that succession was no distant plan. It was urgent, immediate, and real. William's approach has always been forward-looking. His vision isn't just ceremonial. He wants a monarchy that functions like a modern institution, transparent, accountable, and structured. He intends for it to have clear lines of authority, measurable goals, and zero tolerance for secrecy that allowed scandals to fester for decades. The Royal Foundation, run with Kate, demonstrates this model. A CEO, a board, clear objectives, public reporting. Now, William aims to apply the same framework to the monarchy itself. Change is on my agenda, he admitted in October 2025, acknowledging the delicate balance required to modernise a centuries-old institution. But not everyone welcomes this transformation. Queen Camilla's resistance highlights the friction at the heart of this transition. While William pushes for accountability and transparency, she seeks to maintain tradition and old alliances. The tension between modernisation and legacy, between clarity and secrecy, has become the defining struggle of the monarchy today. Through illness, urgency, and quiet strategic shift, Charles is handing the crown's practical authority to William, ensuring that when history inevitably moves forward, the monarchy's future rests firmly with the Wales family. Queen Camilla's loyalty to a 50-year friendship with Sarah Ferguson now sits at the heart of a growing royal rift. But how did this decades-old bond suddenly become a crisis that pits personal loyalty against Prince William's vision for the monarchy? The battle behind the palace walls. The royal family is facing one of its most delicate moments in decades, and at the centre of the storm is an unexpected fault line: Queen Camila. Her decades-long friendship with Sarah Ferguson, dating back to the 1970s, long before either joined the royal family, has become a source of friction, not just gossip. For Camilla, loyalty is a guiding principle, and ending a 50-year bond over what she sees as guilt by association feels both unfair and unnecessary. But for Prince William, the stakes are institutional, not personal. William has made it clear that the monarchy's survival,
or even better, showed me what it meant to have both privilege and responsibilities,
depends on decisiveness and transparency. Sarah Ferguson's name appears in documents from the US Department of Justice connected to Jeffrey Epstein, not as evidence of criminal activity, but as proof of contact and financial appeals during her struggles in 2009. To William, any visible association with figures tied to Andrew and the Epstein scandal threatens the crown's credibility. In his eyes, Camilla's public support of Sarah sends precisely the wrong signal at the worst possible moment. The tension between personal loyalty and institutional responsibility has repeatedly surfaced in high-profile moments. In October 2025, Camilla helped strip Prince Andrew of his titles after reports that he was undermining efforts to support sexual abuse survivors, a cause close to her heart. But her intervention, while decisive, was measured and at her own pace, rather than the immediate, sweeping action William demanded. The divergence in their approaches could not have been clearer. Camilla acts according to her sense of fairness and loyalty. William acts according to the cold logic of reputation and consequence. By February 2026, the discord became impossible to ignore. Camilla met with French rape survivor Giselle Pellicot, hoping to publicly demonstrate her support for abuse survivors. Instead, social media erupted with criticism, accusing her of hypocrisy. How could someone publicly champion victims while privately maintaining friendships with individuals linked to the scandal that enabled such abuse? William's argument, previously private, was now irrefutable in the court of public opinion. The confrontation between them reached a near-historic point. Reports suggest William told Camilla bluntly, "There are no exceptions, no family loyalty, no personal history, no long friendships."
The Queen goes on to admit that she and Charles have always simply gotten each other.
Anyone connected to this scandal must be distanced from the crown. The ultimatum was clear. If Camilla could not fully align with this mandate, William was prepared to work around her, diminish her influence, and wait until he ascended as king and Kate as queen consort. At its core, the struggle is more than a family dispute. It is a collision of principles. Should decades-long loyalty to a friend outweigh the immediate needs of the monarchy during one of its gravest scandals? Or is William simply too ruthless, too pragmatic, willing to sacrifice human relationships for institutional survival? There is no easy answer, and the palace continues to watch closely as this unprecedented balancing act unfolds, where personal bonds and royal duty are in constant, uneasy tension. Prince Andrew's arrest stunned the world, and the palace soon found itself under growing pressure. Yet behind the gilded doors of Buckingham Palace, another struggle was quietly unfolding. Was this simply damage control, or the beginning of a deeper power shift that could reshape the monarchy itself? Kate's rising influence and Camilla's silent storm. The palace, long a symbol of unwavering tradition, now pulses with a tension few could have predicted. While the world watched in shock at the unfolding of Prince Andrew's arrest, a quieter but far more consequential struggle was taking shape behind the gilded doors of Buckingham Palace. At the heart of it was not just strategy or optics, but personal power, influence, and the subtle reshaping of the monarchy itself. Princess Kate has emerged not as a bystander, but as a decisive force in navigating the crisis.
Kate came in completely from the outside into this very tight-knit royal circle.
Sources reveal that she worked tirelessly in the days following the arrest, coordinating palace communications, liaising with legal advisors, and ensuring that Prince William's response strategy was executed flawlessly. Every move, every statement was carefully orchestrated, positioning the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge at the centre of the monarchy's most significant scandal in decades. Where once her role might have been confined to quiet support, Kate now stands as an active architect of the royal response, shaping both perception and policy. For Camilla, the shift has been harder to bear. The Queen consort has reportedly bristled at Kate's growing prominence, perceiving it as a challenge not just to her influence, but to her place in the royal hierarchy. One insider described her frustration bluntly. Camilla fears that Kate's visible leadership makes both her and King Charles appear less capable, as if the monarch cannot manage the crisis without guidance from the next generation. In private meetings, Camilla's resentment is said to have spilled over into accusations, framing Kate's involvement as overstepping rather than assisting. Yet King Charles has been unwavering in his support of the Duchess of Cambridge, consistently defending her actions and affirming that Kate's efforts are meant to stabilise the monarchy, not undermine it. Publicly, the difference is stark. During high-profile appearances following the arrest, it was William and Kate who projected confidence and composure.
Royal sources tell me that the royals indicated very strongly to Kate that they would prefer her to wear her hair up.
Kate was present at critical strategy sessions, helping coordinate official statements, and manage the palace's response, while Camilla's absence was noted, leaving her influence less visible in the unfolding drama. This is more than a momentary friction. It is a crystallization of a generational shift within the royal family. The present is increasingly defined by William and Kate, a couple who embody both the continuity and modernization of the monarchy. Meanwhile, Charles and Camilla are navigating the sometimes painful transition of authority learning what it means to watch the next generation step confidently into roles they once dominated. The dynamics at play are shaping not only the palace's immediate crisis management, but the future structure of royal influence itself, with Kate's rise signalling a new era in the centuries-old institution. Prince William reportedly issued a stunning ultimatum to Queen Camilla in February 2026, drawing a hard line over her ties to Sarah Ferguson. But what led to this rare royal confrontation, and how did tensions inside the palace reach such a breaking point? William's strategic takeover of the monarchy. In late February 2026, Buckingham Palace became the stage for a confrontation that few expected to see so openly. Prince William, heir to the throne, reportedly delivered an ultimatum to Queen Camilla. Clear, uncompromising, and unprecedented. The message was simple. Either step back from your close ties to Sarah Ferguson, or accept that your choices would damage the monarchy at a moment when its reputation could not bear another blow. This was not a polite suggestion, or a gentle nudge from a son navigating family politics. It was a demand, one that reflected a seismic shift in the palace power structure. Royal insiders reveal that King Charles has essentially granted William final authority over matters tied to the Andrew scandal and the monarchy's public image. The king's support of his son, even against his own wife, has created a division as stark as any the family has faced in decades. Now, William is not just heir. He is acting as the primary architect of crisis management. The responsibility for restoring public trust, fractured by Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's controversies, rests squarely on his shoulders. Those unwilling to align with his vision, regardless of rank or relationship, are being sidelined. The central question is whether Camilla will conform or resist, further widening the rift and forcing Charles into an impossible choice between loyalty to his wife or his son. William's approach is bold, corporate-like in its rigor. Scandal, inefficiency, or loyalty misalignment are met with zero tolerance. Andrew's case was merely a test, and the lessons learned are shaping the rules for everyone under this evolving institution. When William ascends the throne, the monarchy will be smaller, more focused, and more transparent. Fewer royals will represent the crown publicly. Decisions will follow. Defined processes and accountability will replace tradition as the guiding principle. No longer will power be exercised in shadowy corridors. Outcomes, not intentions, will determine influence. Kate, already functioning as a strategic partner, will play a central role in this transformation. As Queen Consort, she is expected to take on a more engaged, publicly influential position than any predecessor, shaping the monarchy alongside William. The crown, once centred on symbolic hierarchy, is moving toward a model that resembles a tightly run institution, balancing tradition with measurable leadership. While Charles remains king and Camilla remains Queen Consort, the centre of gravity has unmistakably shifted. Decisions that once required careful deference are increasingly directed by the next generation, guided by the current monarch's approval, but driven by William's vision. The British monarchy is quietly, irreversibly changing, and every move in the palace now signals the contours of the institution that will define the next reign. Prince Andrew's scandal refuses to disappear, with new revelations from the Epstein files shaking the palace and raising deeper questions about power within the monarchy. But how did this crisis quietly push Prince William into becoming the steady figure many now look to for leadership? The monarchy's test of survival. The Andrew scandal refuses to fade into history. Criminal charges linger as a possibility, and each new revelation tied to the Epstein files sends tremors through the palace walls. These shocks are not merely whispers behind closed doors. They are defining moments, shaping who holds real authority in a monarchy under scrutiny. And in that arena, it is increasingly clear that all eyes are on Prince William. When uncertainty looms, people instinctively look for leadership, for clarity, for someone who seems to have a plan. In recent months, sources close to the royal family confirm William has emerged as that figure. the calm force in the eye of a storm. The coming months are being treated as pivotal for the British monarchy. If it can demonstrate genuine accountability, implement visible reforms, and decisively break from the patterns of behaviour that allow decades of scandal to fester, it could emerge stronger and more respected than before. Yet the stakes could not be higher. Early 2026 polling shows that support for the monarchy among Britons under 45 has fallen to historic lows. The younger generation, the future of public opinion, is watching closely, measuring whether promises of transformation are authentic or simply another polished royal performance. Behind the carefully curated smiles and ceremonial appearances, fundamental questions loom larger than ever. Can an institution so deeply bound by centuries of tradition, reliant on continuity and hierarchy, truly reinvent itself from within? Can it confront uncomfortable truths about past failures and scandals without undermining the very family, the legacy, and the public trust it exists to protect? These are not abstract queries for scholars or journalists. They are urgent, immediate challenges, unfolding in real time across the palace and within the court of public opinion. Every decision, every carefully worded statement, every strategic move Prince William makes is now scrutinised as a litmus test of the monarchy's adaptability. Supporters and critics alike are watching closely to see whether the royal family is capable of meaningful modern reinvention, or whether it remains trapped by its own history, weighed down by old expectations and inherited controversies. The coming months will not only shape public perception, but could very well define the trajectory of the institution, determining how it evolves, or fails to evolve, over the decades to come. In this delicate balance, William's authority has grown not by chance, but because he embodies confidence and focus when crises arise. And while the palace prepares for what could be a defining period, the wider world watches, aware that the next chapter of the British monarchy will not be written in grand ceremonies alone. It will be written in the very choices that determine whether this centuries-old institution can survive scrutiny, evolve with the times, and regain the trust of a generation that may demand nothing less. King Charles remains the sovereign, his image still symbolising royal authority across Britain. Yet, behind palace walls, power is quietly shifting toward Prince William. But how did this transformation truly begin? And what unseen decisions inside the palace set the stage for this remarkable change? The hidden power shift. At the heart of the monarchy, King Charles remains the sovereign, his face immortalised in portraits across London, his signature still marking official documents, his crown still commanding respect. On the surface, the monarchy appears unchanged. Yet, behind the gilded doors of Buckingham Palace, an undeniable transformation is quietly taking place, a seismic shift in who truly holds power. In 2026, the monarchy's future is no longer steered solely by the old guard. The reins have subtly, irrevocably passed to Prince William. Queen Camilla continues to occupy her role as consort, walking beside Charles at ceremonies and receiving the public's attention. But the woman now orchestrating responses to the kingdom's gravest challenges is Kate Middleton. It is she who sets the tone, advises on strategy, and shapes the palace's messaging when crises erupt. Everyone within the palace hierarchy sees it clearly. The official authority rests with Charles and Camilla, but the operational authority, the one that dictates how the monarchy survives scandals and reinvents itself, resides with William and Kate. This quiet takeover was not planned, announced, or celebrated. It emerged as a necessity, spurred by the Andrew scandal that continues to unravel, and the inevitable reality of Charles's advancing age and health concerns. William's influence is not a matter of ambition alone. It is driven by an urgent understanding that the monarchy, as it has existed, cannot withstand another crisis without serious transformation. His authority has been granted in full by Charles himself, a gesture both practical and profound, ensuring the institution can navigate the storms ahead. Camilla's reluctance to relinquish influence is human. understandable even, but it is a rearguard effort against a current that cannot be turned back. The monarchy is reinventing itself, not smoothly, not without tension, and certainly not without personal cost, but it is doing so nonetheless. And the driver of this reinvention is William, backed by Kate, resolute and strategic, aware that the survival of the institution demands decisive action. In these walls, where history meets modernity, the old generation commands tradition, while the new generation quietly, insistently shapes reality. The British monarchy of 2026 exists in this delicate, dramatic duality. The throne is still occupied by Charles, the title still held by Camilla, yet the kingdom's direction, its crisis responses, and its very strategy for survival are increasingly the work of William and Kate. What is unfolding is not simply a change of leadership. It is the subtle, irreversible redefinition of power at the heart of one of the world's most enduring institutions. So, what do you think is really happening as King Charles hands his final authority to William, with Camilla caught in the middle? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to comment.